Just start with the bad news, but there are, some confirmation about Bobby and both Kyle, and you just talk about those two guys.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's the part of the game that really that sucks, quite frankly. But I feel awful for both those guys. They put a lot into this thing, and they're tough guys to replace. I mean, I know Kylan wasn't as involved with our offense up to this point, but certainly what he's done on special teams is going to be tough to replace. And then, just watching a guy like Bobby, like I mentioned last night, just the growth and development of him and what he means to this football team. And just knowing the amount of hours and everything he puts into this game, it's sickening for me as a coach.
I just want to go back off kind of that question. Can you just describe kind of what it was like overnight coming off a big win like that, but also realizing you just lost two key contributors?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it definitely it takes a little something from it. There's no question, especially just the human element of it, because you feel so bad for those guys. Certainly you're happy that you won the football game, but you never want to, not at the expense of what happened to those two individuals.
On such a short week, was that about as well carried out, a game plan, particularly on the defensive side, as you could have imagined? The way you did contain Murray in the pocket for the most part and did what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I thought it was really the tale of two halves, kind of. I thought the first half our defense did unbelievable, and then even to start the second half with the interception there on a 3-and-out. And then that's a tough offense to contain for 4 quarters. And they started to get rolling there, I would say, really the last 3 drives of the game where they were able to move the football. I do think that, they converted some tough situations. There was a couple 4th downs in there. I think there were the one that I want to say was in the 3rd quarter. Their touchdown drive, I think it was like a 4th and 4. I think we got to be a little stickier with our coverage and challenge them and make them earn that. But I think all in all, I was really proud of the effort that our guys gave. Certainly containing the quarterback was part of the plan, and I thought our guys did that to a pretty high level.
Getting back to the injuries for a second, what does losing Bobby mean to the offense and adjustments you might have to make, and then who do you see as kind of your options on kickoff return now with Kyle now?
Yeah, Bobby's a tough one to replace. I mean, he's a guy that's so versatile in terms of both in the run game and in the pass game, and luckily we have some good depth there, and so it's going to be kind of by committee, I think, and it'll be, there's going to be some things that we might have to adjust in terms of how we game plan, just putting guys in different spots, and we might have to shake up some of the personnels a little bit, but that's something that we'll certainly look at moving forward. And then as far as the kickoff return, you saw Malik went in there. He's done it in the past, and that's another area that we'll just, we'll look at every possibility there.
Matt, the players have talked about kind of the challenge of the short week and getting their bodies right and everything like that. I'll turn that on the flip side and make it maybe a positive. The long week, especially as banged up as you guys are right now, how much does that give guys an extra chance outside of the normal game week and your normal day-to-day regimen to get a little bit healthier and get that extra day?
Well, I think that gives us a great opportunity, and I know our guys are, the guys that are injured are staying in town, and they'll be getting the treatment that they need. And I think they're totally invested in the process and trying to come back for this football team, because we're going to need everybody. I mean, it's been we've fought through a lot of adversity in terms of the injury bug this year, unlike the previous 2 seasons, which, provided that some of these guys, we get them back, it does help develop some of our younger players and get them experience, and we found different ways to win, which is always good. But certainly, we're looking forward to getting some of these guys back.
Building off that, you said that you haven't faced that kind of injury adversity the past 2 years. You guys, I guess in some sense, haven't really won a game like last night and facing that level of adversity in the past 2 years. What makes this team different in that respect? I mean, and do you win a game like that in 19 or 20?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, every game's a little bit different, but I think it just speaks to the mentality of the guys in the locker room, the belief that they have in one another to go out there no matter what the circumstance is and find a way to do it. And it's not always pretty. Certainly last night there were some moments that weren't very pretty, but our guys, they stayed together, they didn't flinch, and we made timely plays. I mean, for it to come down to that last play where Rasul makes a heck of a interception, I mean, I thought it was a pretty fitting way to win the football game.
Hey Matt, every game plan's different, but how nice is it, in a game like that where you needed to rely on Aaron and AJ in the backfield to be able to have those two guys together to kind of build around?
Yeah, man, those guys ran extremely tough. They broke a lot of tackles. I don't have the exact number for you, but they ran behind their pads. They made people miss. They complemented each other very well. And I thought our guys up front were really battling too and getting after it. And that's a defense. That's a damn good defense. They fly around. They've got a lot of speed. Those safeties can erase a lot of the runs in a hurry, and they're big and they're physical. So to do it against that style of defense, I was pretty happy with our guys up front, our tight ends, our receivers blocking, and then those backs just running hard.
Matt, last night you obviously expressed some regrets about the goal-to-go situations there. Assuming you had a chance to review those, well, what's kind of your post-mortem analysis on what was going on there?
Yeah, and I think, sometimes in the moment you might feel a little bit worse, and then you go back and look at it, and certainly there's a couple plays that, no doubt about it, I'd like to have back in terms of the call and really giving our guys the best chance to go out there and succeed. And so that's something that I think that it's always good when you come away with a win and you can really look hard at yourself and have a better plan for, I think, moving forward in terms of what you're going to do, especially when you have a pretty good idea of what they were going to do. That's a salty defense, especially down in the red zone. I mean, they threw in their 6'2". They're big people, and it's tough to run against. But I do think that there's potentially some things that we could do a little bit better from a schematic standpoint, and just basically I got to give them a better play call.
On both offense and defense, that those goal line situations have kind of come into focus the last couple of weeks. In your mind, I guess as an experienced coach and experienced play caller, what happens down there? I mean, what becomes sort of that short field mentality from both an offensive and defensive standpoint where, all right, it's a different game down there at the goal line?
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, there's no vertical grass to cover, and, every team has a different identity down in the red zone. So I think it's very game plan specific from week to week, especially, a lot of it is predicated on the defense that you're going against or the defenses that we're playing. So, but yeah, I would say it's more predicated on the identity of the team that you're attacking.
In this last month and a half, we look at your defensive coaches. Have you learned anything about that group? When you look at the Detroit game, I think they lose Jerry Montgomery there. The defensive front has to pull together. This one, you lose Joe. So what have you thought of the job that they've done to kind of navigate that, especially this time around on the short week?
Yeah, I think our guys have done an excellent job in terms of just the collaboration, the communication has definitely improved, and we knew that early on that there's always a learning curve, right? Especially when you have a new coordinator, there's going to be some bumps in the road. There's no doubt about it, just in terms of the overall communication from coaches to coaches, and then getting that to our players and just the adjustments that need to take place. But that's one thing that I've thought has improved on a weekly basis. and I think our guys are starting to get a better feel for what they're, what they're asked to do, and then go out there and perform at a high level. So I thought the effort's been outstanding from our players and our coaches.
And, were those timeouts called in that last drive, just Aaron trying to drain that clock as much as possible? Were there communication issues? Probably could have used one before that delay penalty.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Certainly we don't want to put ourselves in that position. I can't fault him for taking those timeouts. On a couple of those, there was a miscommunication, and that all starts with me making sure that our guys are, again, in position to have an opportunity to make a play. Some of it was based on what the defensive look was, and certainly when you get down to that time of the game, you don't want to waste any plays. You never want to waste a play. Every play is at a premium, but especially when you're playing against, one of the best teams in the league in a very tight game. So, I thought he did what he had to do.
All right, let's go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Yep, we have a couple. Rob Demoski, go ahead and start.
Hey man, you got me?
Miss seeing you here, Rob.
I'm still looking at palm trees and a swimming pool, so.
Nice.
Did Aaron just tweeted that he's on his way back to Green Bay, or was? Where was he, and what are the chances that he might be able to come back for you? Is that chance increased now?
Well, we're certainly hopeful. As far as the updates on him in terms of when he will be available, I really don't have anything to comment on that right now. We got to get him back in the building and see where he's at.
Steve McCarty.
Just to clarify, with Kyle and Tonyan, no chance of them returning this season, and also what are the possibilities of maybe getting David back with the long week for Kansas City?
Yeah, I don't foresee Kylan or Bobby back. And then as far as David, I think that's going to be, again, it's going to be day to day, and we'll see where he's at. And I know he wants to be out there, and he's doing everything in his power. And we'll have an extra day of practice this week to kind of evaluate to see where he is. But ultimately, I don't know exactly when that date will be.
Silverstein.
Hey Matt, so just a quick one, and then I have a second follow-up. On Zadarius Smith, when that injury and surgery occurred, 6 weeks was not the point. I mean, I think it's only been 4 or 5 weeks since he had it, right? I mean, that wasn't the goal. In other words, he has a ways to go still, right?
Yeah, I'll give you guys a better update when I talk to Flea and see exactly where he's at.
Okay. Can you describe what either Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon would have been looking at that 4th and 1 run when they had the 6 guys in and the 2 linebackers? And I assume every gap is covered. Mm-hmm. And then what in addition is covered, and do any double team blocks work in that situation?
Yeah, they had every gap plugged. So basically, if we were to hand off the ball there, they're going to have to run over somebody. And not to say that they can't, because they certainly possess, both of those guys possess that ability to, create their own hole. And they did it many times in that game. But, it's just, we gotta have a better play for the situation. And that's my fault. I think we did have better plays in the plan. I didn't call it. I called a bad play for the situation.
Andy Herman.
Hey Matt, how close was Kevin King to playing yesterday, and how do you see all these corners fitting together once everyone is healthy?
Yeah, Kevin was itching to get out there. I mean, he did everything in his power. I think that was one of the tough decisions going into the game, because I know he wanted to play. He went out there and practiced the day before, but we just felt like it was in his best interest, the best interest of the team, to allow him more time to get to as close as 100% as possible, which I know at this time of the year is doesn't happen much. But as far as, rotating all those corners, I think that's going to be a week by week cases in terms of who we're playing, how we're going to play them. But we've got confidence in all those guys.
Abdomowski?
Hey Matt, are you guys still in the intensive COVID protocol or enhanced mitigation? And if so, what do you guys have to do to get out of it?
We're still kind of operating that way. I don't know if technically we are in that area right now, to be honest with you, because we didn't have any of our guys in today. So, and we gave the coaches some time off as well. So, but as far as we're still walking around with masks and all that, I just don't think we have to do the daily testing.
Aaron Nagler?
Coach, how much did the fact that you were so far down the depth chart as far as the skill position players, and then you lose Bobby midway through the game, how much did that play into the issues, trying to get plays in, get guys in, and then having to take the timeouts that you did?
Yeah, that certainly played a role on that 3rd and goal from the 1 yard line. We obviously didn't do a good enough job of communicating with our guys and exactly where to line up, because we were in 13 personnel, and when you lose a guy like Bobby, I mean, everybody had a clear defined role, and now you're running a play that maybe somebody didn't rep. So again, that falls on myself, just putting our guys in that position. We got to make sure that we clearly communicate exactly what we're going to do and make sure that they can go out there and execute it.
And last one, Andy Herman?
Matt, kind of going back to the timeouts, with them being such finite resources, is there a time where a 5-yard penalty for a delay of game may actually be better because those timeouts become so important in end game scenarios, especially in the second half?
Yeah, I think that always plays a part of it in terms of the thought process. But I just think just the situation of the game, having the lead, knowing how valuable each play was, I thought in terms of it wasn't worth it in that situation. But absolutely, I think every game's a little bit different in terms of, do you want to take the 5-yard penalty or burn the timeout? I would say, as a rule of thumb, in the first half of games, it's not even a question, right? You burn the timeout. But when you talk about the second half and how valuable those are, especially in a tight game, that's where it becomes a real question. So ultimately, I've got to do a better job to not allow that to happen. I feel like that was probably our worst performance in terms of just that whole management of the timeouts and the clock. And that, again, that falls on me.